Hello, Elder Smith here. Today's subject is about how long the world has really been around, or how much, I should say, how much I truly believe it's been around. You got a lot of people who tend to debate this. A lot of Christians out there believe the world's only several thousand years old, and then you got others, like scientists and some atheists, who believe that the world is 65 billion years old, maybe even older. Obviously, the belief that the world is 65 billion years old is a more popular belief than the belief that it's only several thousand. But I would like to explain why I personally believe it's only several thousand years old. And it's perfectly okay if you disagree with me on this, but I would like to explain myself. First of all, we need to stop and think about, or we need to stop and consider a few things. One, it mentions that it was the promise that God would send down His only begotten Son to die for us was made even from the time of Adam and Eve, right before they were cast out of the garden. And there were prophets that claimed that not only would He come, but He would come soon. But if you took the whole 65 billion years into play, starting with Adam and Eve, all the way up to now, you'd realize, man, that's quite a long wait for God to send down His only begotten Son. And God didn't just go with the flow. He didn't just make up things as He went along. He actually had a plan. He, before He created the world, had His own set time when He would send down His only begotten Son. Evidence of that is this. He could, and I brought this up before, He could have sent Jesus down to be conceived inside of Eve. And Jesus could have been the firstborn of Adam and Eve instead of Cain. And Jesus could have been crucified right then and there and been the sacrifice that would have cleansed us from our sins, and we would have been bought in His blood, with His blood. And we would all live life in the ways of the New Testament, showing that we're saved through God's grace and by faith, and the church would have been set up that much sooner. But He didn't. He waited for the time in which He did. But you also got to bear in mind how many years have been around throughout the whole Old Testament. Now, if you hold the Bible up, and if you open it to right where the Old Testament ends and the new one begins, here's what it looks like. As you can see, here's the Old Testament. The book isn't exactly divided into two halves, for the Old Testament is significantly bigger than the New Testament. And considering the fact that Jesus was born in the year 0 AD, and I know there is a new scientific label for that supposedly we don't go by BC or AD anymore, but I'm going to stick with BC and AD because I think that's more biblically accurate. Now, as you can see, the New Testament is a lot shorter. And that's because a lot of it was written during the lifetime, all of it, in fact, was written during the lifetime of the apostles. And in the Old Testament, you got generations upon generations upon generations of writing, from the time of Adam and Eve to the time of Abraham to the time of Moses, skipping ahead through a few of the prophets to the time of King David, then King Solomon, and it just keeps going on and on. But one thing you must remember is, or one thing you must ask yourself is, if the world were really 65 billion years old, and bear in mind, it only took God 6 days to create the world, Not that he couldn't have done it any faster. If it were in God's will, he could have created all things in a split second. But he did have a reason for taking 6 days, which I believe I even mentioned once again in a previous video. So that's a subject for another time. But the point is it took him only 6 days to create the world. And he rested on the 7th. Then from that point on, if you believe after that 65 billion years have passed, wouldn't this Bible be a lot bigger than what it is? Wouldn't there be more written in the scriptures? Because you got to remember, man was God's final creation, and he was created on the 6th day. So that means man, after on the 6th day of creation, man's been around on the earth. I know a lot of people believe that man didn't come around till millions of years after the earth's creation, because a lot of people believe in evolution, and that's a subject I'd like to touch on in a little bit on this same video. But if God really created the world 65 billion years ago, and it started with Adam and Eve, I don't think it would even be possible for this Bible to ever be made small enough where I can keep in my pocket and take it everywhere I go. In fact, if you turn to Luke, the Gospel according to Luke, starting with in the 3rd chapter, starting with the 22nd verse, it'll mention the whole genealogy line, starting with Jesus. Now bear in mind, this is now the year 2018. And Jesus was born in the year 0 AD, which means he was born literally 2018 years ago. So if you want to know how long the earth has been around, just bear in mind, the earth is only 2018 years older now than it was from the time Jesus was born. And this genealogy line goes back from Jesus all the way to Adam. Now I would like to read that really quick. And the Holy Ghost descended, and this is after Jesus was baptized, so that's why this verse is in. It's because John the Baptist had just baptized him. And the Holy Ghost descended in a bodily shape like a dove upon him, and a voice came from heaven, which said, "Thou art my beloved Son, in thee I am well pleased." And Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age, being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph, which was the son of Heli, which is the son of Mathat, which was the son of Levi, which was the son of Melchi, which is the son of Janah, which is the son of Joseph, which was the son of Mattathias, which was the son of Amos, which was the son of Nahum, which was the son of Elsli, which was the son of Naggai, which I'd like to stop really quick to say I apologize if I mispronounce some of these names. Pronouncing the names in the Bible is actually the hardest thing for me to do when it comes to reading. Now, continuing where I left off, which is at the 26th verse, if you're following along, which was the son of Maath, which was the son of Mattathias, which is the son of Simei, which was the son of Joseph, which was the son of Judah, which was the son of Joanna, which was the son of Resa, which was the son of Zerubbabel, which was the son of Salathiel, which is the son of Neri, which was the son of Melchi, which was the son of Adai, which was the son of Kosam, which was the son of Elmodam, which was the son of which was the son of Joseph, which was the son of Eleazar, which was the son of Joram, which was the son of Mathat, which was the son of Levi, which was the son of Simeon, which was the son of Judah, which was the son of Joseph, which was the son of Jonan, which was the son of Eliakim, which was the son of Melaliel, which was the son of Manan, which was the son of Mattitha, which was the son of Nathan, which was the son of David, which was the son of Jesse, which was the son of Obed, which was the son of Boaz, which was the son of Salmon, which was the son of Nason, which was the son of Amminadab, which was the son of Aram, which was the son of Esrom, which was the son of Phares, which was the son of Judah, which was the son of Jacob, which was the son of Isaac, which was the son of Abraham, which was the son of Thera, which was the son of Nahor, or son of Nachor, which was the son of Serach, which was the son of Raguel, which was the son of Phalec, which was the son of Heber, which was the son of Salah, which was the son of Canaan, which was the son of Arphaxad, which was the son of Sem, which was the son of Noe, which was the son of Lamech, which was the son of Methuselah, which was the son of Enoch, which was the son of Jared, which was the son of Melaliel, which is the son of Canaan, which is the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. Now, assuming that none of you have stopped the video because of what appeared to be an endless list of names from the genealogy time leading back from Jesus all the way to Adam, which shows all the way back at the beginning. Now, this genealogy line takes up only an entire page in the Bible, just one page, the genealogy line alone. Now I ask all of you in all seriousness, does that sound like 65 billion years worth of names? Now, I get that the names alone you can't just take account for. You also got to take account how long they lived before one begat the other. I get that. But the longest man to live was Methuselah, and he lived only 969 years old. Now, and even then, it didn't take him that long before he begat his son. But the point is, I am of the true belief that if the world were really as old as a lot of people claim for it to be, that this genealogy line would be a lot longer. I would still be talking about it for hours and hours. In fact, I would think that this genealogy line might even be thicker than the Bible itself. No joke. I believe that this is only like several thousand years worth. And this sparks up a lot of questions. Like, well, Elder Smith, look, I'm not trying to step on any toes here. But if that's the case, how do you account for things like the dinosaurs and all that? Well, I'm not going to lie. I don't have any answers to that question that's factual. I can give you theories or what I believe, but I would be lying if I said I knew those answers to be fact. I will give you what my theory. I got two different theories in regards to the dinosaurs. First, I would like to point out ahead of time that I'm not like what a lot of people believe. I don't believe the devil took fossils of dinosaurs that never existed and hid them throughout the world. I don't believe the devil works that way. I believe he deceives people, but I don't think he can create things to deceive. For creating is a power that exists only with God and God alone. Even the devil doesn't have the power to create something that hasn't already existed. Now, do I believe the dinosaurs existed? Yes. But I don't believe they're as old as what people believe for them to be. I'm not going to lie, I'm no expert on the subject, but I have a theory. Now, this one is the first theory I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on. If you remember, if you go back to my other video called The Truth About the Nephilim, you'll remember that I quoted a scripture that talked about Noah's time where it says, there were giants in the earth in Noah's day. A lot of people believe these giants are the Nephilim, or that these giants are people of abnormal size, and that I believe that one of my theories could be that the giants may not necessarily be human, but they may have in fact been the dinosaurs, and they have in fact existed alongside of man for some time, and they may have even died in the flood. Another theory I have, which I believe, now that I've been thinking about it for the last year or so, I believe the second theory is more likely than the first one I just mentioned. And the fact of the matter is, what stirred up my mind on this is what I heard a while back. And that is, in today's world, there's many species that are in fact in danger of going into extinction right now. In fact, just 2 years ago, I don't know how true this is, but if it is true, it actually does back up my second theory a little bit. That there was talking about a black-horned rhino, which just about a year or two ago actually did go into extinction. Now, if this is true, I believe throughout time animals have been going into extinction. I believe the dinosaurs have been slowly going off into extinction. In fact, in the scriptures, especially in the Old Testament, there are names of creatures which are considered mythical and legend, but are actually brought up in the Bible. I'll go ahead and say what they are now. Throughout the Old Testament, every now and then there's mention of unicorns. And in Job and Isaiah is mention of a giant sea monster called Leviathan. A lot of people believe that there's more of a symbolic nature to this. But if it is symbolic, what is it supposed to be symbolic for? And even in Job, there's even a giant land creature named Behemoth. Now, do I believe when the Bible mentions unicorns, it's talking about the figures that we have grown accustomed to learning about, such as a magical horse with a horn on its head? No. But it could be that maybe, since Adam was the one that was allowed to name these creatures, he obviously named one of the, and they said that to this very day, these are the names that these creatures went by. There could be some, who's to say he didn't name the dinosaurs and all the other creatures that went into extinction over time? Maybe the unicorns were, in fact, what we would call a prehistoric creature that followed the rest of the dinosaurs into extinction. Maybe it was a dinosaur, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to say these answers as fact. These answers right here are only what I believe that could possibly be the truth. And you got a giant sea monster like Leviathan, well, and supposedly it's existed since the day God created all the creatures of the sea. Well, if you count what is prehistoric as to what existed before man, well, you don't have a lot of time to go on, because man was created on the sixth day, which means, if you think about it, only the first 5 days would be considered prehistoric, because those days existed before we existed. So technically every creature should be a prehistoric creature, simply for the fact that man was God's final creation. So we never see this Leviathan. We never see this Behemoth. We never see these unicorns. Well, maybe it's possible that these were also among dinosaurs, and they were even counted as dinosaurs. And as such, over time, they followed the rest into extinction. It seems to be a good possibility. Now, once again, I'm going to have to say one more time, don't take what I say as fact. I could be wrong on this. It is just a theory, nothing more. But if I am right, that means that the dinosaurs did not die out before man came around. In fact, death didn't exist until the fall of man, when they took of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So there was a time when all creatures lived on the earth along with humans. I know it gives kind of a strange feeling to consider it. We've all been brought up to believe the world has been around for 65 billion years old. And to consider that the world's only several thousand years old, it shows that, wow, that means the dinosaurs were alive in a more recent time than what we have ever estimated. That just seems kind of weird to think about. And what's even weirder is to think that Adam and Eve even lived in a time more recent to us than what we had ever considered. Kind of gives you that claustrophobic feeling, like you're in a room that you think is much bigger than when you step inside. It's a very tiny room with hardly any room to move around. But it does make a lot of sense if you consider a few things. One, think of man back when he was primitive, before technology existed. Are we to believe that man was primitive for the majority of the 65 billion years, and in just the last century or so, suddenly technology has suddenly sprang up and has started to become a thing, and we're just rapidly now becoming more and more advanced as time goes on? I believe we would have gained the technology that we have a lot earlier than this time period if the world were really, and we existed around 65 billion years ago, and we'd be far more advanced now than what we were then. A lot of people will often also argue the matter and say, well, some of us don't believe that the 6 days of creation were 6 literal days. It says in the scriptures that a day to God is like 1,000 years to us. Does it not say that? Yes, it does. Well, if that's the case, who's to say that it was literal days? Maybe each day was 1,000 years for us. Well, that may be. I doubt it, because it takes away from the significance of God resting on the 7th day. But even if it were 6,000 years, anyone who could do basic math will be more than smart enough to know that several thousand years plus another 6,000 years is not going to equal 65 billion years. You can do the math over and over and over, and even use a calculator to help you. It's never going to equal 65 billion years. Now, the next thing I would like to touch on, and this also proves, or this not proves, but backs up to a point, what I believe on how, well, before I get to this part, I better touch on one more subject in regards to the Earth's time. Someone actually brought up a very good point, and I say good point because they actually applied logic to this point. So, and I would like to bring this up. They said that they'll never be convinced that the world is only around for 65 billion years, because all the stars that were brought into existence, the light that they shine off, even though the light itself goes at the speed of light, it takes for a lot of them hundreds, even thousands of years for them to reach the Earth. So, or actually even longer than that. I forget the time they estimated actually specifically, and so scratch the time estimate I just said now, because they said if everything was created and everything was left to work logically, and the world was only 65 billion years old, we should, or the world's only several thousand years old, we should be able to look up at the sky and not see a single star because the light wouldn't have been able to reach the Earth, or at least the majority of the stars that we see, because they're so far. You know what? I applaud the person for using actual logic to argue with that. However, I don't agree. I mean, I agree with his logic, but just because logic is put into play doesn't mean that the argument's right. In most cases, it would be, but there's one thing you got to factor in. Logic has no hold over God. If it did, he wouldn't be God. Logic works the way that it works is because God wills the logic. God created logic. He not only created all things, but he created the rules in which they are bound by. I would like to kind of start things a little backwards here, or I'd like to kind of start with the fourth day of creation and then go over the first day of creation. It says, "And God said, let there be light." Bear in mind the fourth day, which means a few things have already been created. "And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day and from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also, and he set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day." So we know on the fourth day, God created the sun, the moon, and the stars, and he placed them where each one is meant to be. Now, a lot of you are like, well, yeah, that proves that points out that he did, but that doesn't back up the theory that the world's only 65 billion, or the world's only several thousand years old, because you got to bear in mind that guy's logic still holds into place. It would take a very long time for that light to go from the stars and even reach the earth to where we could even be able to see the stars. But there's one more thing. You got to go to the... Let's start with the very first verse and work our way down to the first day, at the end of the first day. "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day." Notice that. Fourth day, God created the sun, the moon, and the stars to give light upon the earth and to rule over the day and over the night. But yet, on the first day, he created light. Have any of you ever noticed that detail? To accept both verses as truth, you would have to understand that God created light, light existed, light was there, but light did not have a source. But when God created the sun and the moon and the stars, 3 days later, he gave the light a source. Now some of you are probably thinking, well, even if that's true, Elder Smith, how does that prove what the guy said wrong about how light travels? Well, I'd have to kind of illustrate a point using words. I'm sure most of you are familiar with something, I don't know if it's still done in elementary school today, but I remember when I was in elementary school, one of the things that they used to have us do around first grade especially is they'd have us illustrate pictures by connecting dots. And they would even have the dots labeled by number. And you would take one pencil and put it on one dot and then draw a line to the next point you're supposed to go to until you reach the second dot. And you keep doing that until you form a picture. Now, what does this have to do with the light from the stars all the way reaching the earth? Here's what I believe it has to do with. To illustrate the point, you would have to take a piece of paper, draw 2 dots on both sides, on either side. Now, one dot would have to represent a star, and the other dot would have to represent the earth, and the space in between would have to represent the distance. Now, if you were to take a pencil and slowly draw a line until from one dot to the next, that time when you're drawing would have to represent the time light would hit the earth. By that sense, it would back up that man's logical argument. However, if God created light before he created the stars, imagine this. It says God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness upon the face of the deep. Okay, so God created the light first. So if you were to illustrate this point in the exact order that God created all things, take the piece of paper and only one side of the paper put one dot. That dot would represent the earth. But then God said, "Let there be light." So take the line, draw a line from the other side of the paper without making a dot, and make the line. It doesn't matter what speed you do it in. Just make sure that the line reaches the other side of the paper, not to where it touches the edge, but just make it so it's more than halfway across the paper. Make sure it's connected to the earth, but draw it to the other side of the paper. Then skip to the 4th day, where he created the stars. Then draw a second dot on the other end of that line. That's how I believe it works. That's how I believe the light has already reached the earth. Because if the line that connects the 2 dots represents the light, well, God created the light before he created the stars. So the light had already made it to the earth before the stars ever existed. And that's how the light is continuously reaching the earth. Now, I don't know if that's a good explanation or if I lost all of you, and that's not me insulting your intelligence, because I can understand how this could easily lose someone, because I try to put myself in the place of the listener. I try to ask myself, would I be able to keep up with the explanations if I was being told it instead of doing the explaining? But I do pray that the explanation makes sense. It's what I truly believe. The light was there, obviously, before the stars existed. Otherwise, God wouldn't have said, "Let there be light" on the 1st day, and on the 4th day created the sun, the moon, and the stars. The final thing I would like to touch on is the belief of evolution, because that's another thing people believe in regards to the world being only 65 billion years old. A lot of us, a lot of people believe that that we evolved from apes, and that we went and you'll even see a chart of a ape, and then the next one is a more man-developed ape, and it keeps going on until you got a full man. Well, I don't believe this is the case, and this because, for one thing, I don't really believe in evolution at all, but there are some Christians that do believe in evolution. It's not just a science thing or an atheist thing. There are Christians out there that do believe in evolution. They have the belief that God created all things, then he left his creation to evolve over time. But I don't believe God left everything to evolve. What evidence do I have? It's purely because we, as God's final creation, he said, "Let us make man in our image and after our likeness." So we're not only made in his image, but we're made after his likeness. Can you believe that God created man in his own image and believe that man evolved into apes at the same time? Or evolved from apes in the same time? It doesn't add up. Because to believe in both, you'd have to say, well, the ape is in the image of God, and somehow over the 65 billion years we've existed, we've evolved into an image and into a likeness that's superior to God's image. Does that sit well with any of you? Can you honestly, for all those that believe in God, can you honestly say, yeah, that sounds about right, and not cringe or not feel awkward or feel like you're disrespecting God, even if it's unintentional? The fact that it's being brought to your attention that we're saying, even if we didn't mean to, we're still implying that this image, the image of the modern day man, according to the belief of evolution, is superior to God's original image. That's why I believe it also says, in if you turn to Romans in the 1st chapter, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them. For God hath shewed unto them, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things which are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like unto corruptible man, and to birds, and to four-footed beasts, and to creeping things." Sounds like a lot of scientists out there. Now, there are scientists that do believe in God. I'm not of the belief that science disproves the existence of God. I do believe there are many out there that use science or try to use science to disprove the belief of God. But that's only because they know how to talk over people's heads, and because of that, they know how to say things and word things to where, unless we actually take the time to think about what they're saying, they often do, on the surface, sound like they have a lot of good points, but they really don't. Because They talk about the evolution of man. They don't believe. Some of them don't believe in God, and a lot of one thing they try to criticize people over is the faith. Faith is based on what you believe, not what you know. Even though the Bible does say faith is the evidence of things not seen, the scientists don't see it that way. They think evidence is something you should see physically. They don't want to believe in God, and it doesn't make sense to them that a God could exist, not only exist, but exist without a beginning and without an end. In fact, you'd be amazed at how many people that do believe in God that have a hard time wrapping their heads around the fact that God doesn't have a beginning, that he was just always around. How many questions I've heard to saying, well, what created God? What brought him into existence? What was time like before God existed? There was never a time before God existed. He is without beginning. He was just always around. If God needs to be created to exist, he isn't really God then, for he is the creator of all and none created him. They don't want to believe that. They think it's foolish to believe in an eternal entity without, or a higher power without beginning. But yet they would have a belief in what they call the Big Bang Theory. Note that they even use the word theory, and yet they'll talk about it as if it's fact. Now, in order for something to cause a Big Bang, that means there had to have been something that existed beforehand to cause that Big Bang. This is something scientists are actually in an agreement on. Here's the part that gets me, however. They believe in the Big Bang Theory. They believe that things had to exist that caused the Big Bang Theory. But in order for those things that previously existed, in order for them to exist, there had to have been something else that brought those into existence. That they'll agree with too. But in order for those to exist, there had to have been something else that brought that substance into existence. And so on and so forth. And it goes on and on and on till it's an everlasting chain, a chain of events that is without beginning. So they don't want to believe in a God that is without beginning, but they are willing to believe in a chain of events before the earth that is without a beginning. And that's supposed to make more sense. It doesn't. So before as hard as it is to understand that God is without a beginning, you ask yourself one question: what makes more sense, in a God that is without beginning, or a chain of events that is without beginning? Because to not believe in one, you have to believe in the other then, because nothing just happens by itself. A Big Bang cannot happen when there's nothing to cause it. Now, has anything I said proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that the world is only several thousand years old? No. Once again, it's only a belief that I believe it's true in my heart of hearts. If you choose to not believe it, that's fine. And I'm pretty sure the majority of you feel that I haven't presented concrete evidence. But please consider, at least think about everything I've said. Study, as I always say in my videos. And remember, the genealogy line from Jesus all the way to Adam only takes up like 1 page in the Bible. Now, taking that in alone, it's hard to imagine that genealogy line alone could take up 65 billion years. And it's hard. It's even harder for me to believe that God would wait almost 65 billion years before sending down his begotten Son. Even if 1,000 years to us is like 1 day to God, still, that's still a long time to wait. And even Jesus himself said that all of this would be cut short for the elect's sake. 65 billion years doesn't seem like anything's being cut short right there. And once again, the whole evolution, I just can't wrap my head around that, because I think the belief in evolution disrespects God, just from the fact that we were made in God's image from the very beginning. But I do thank every single one of you for listening, and I'd be more than willing to hear what people have to say on this subject and what they believe. And maybe, who knows, maybe you'll stir my mind up in a way I hadn't thought of before. I dare not act like I am all-knowing and that I know everything and that I'm right and everyone that disagrees with me is automatically wrong. Shame on me if there ever comes a time where that happens. But in my heart of hearts, this is what I truly believe. Thank you all for listening. Remember, study to show yourself approved and fight the good fight.